Hey, what's up guys? So in this video I'm going to show you how you can create a perfect looking houndstooth pattern. Now why I'm saying it's a perfect looking pattern, you will see once we are done with the design. So I'm just going to create a new document, make sure it's a square format. It does not matter which are the unit or dimension units or the document units you use. Just make sure it's a square format, and if you want to use it for print, the DPI should be 300 and color format depending upon your requirement, and then press create. Now I'm just going to start by creating a square. I'm just using the square tool. I'm just going to create a random square shape. It does not have to be perfect because we can make it perfect in the transform panel. So in the transform panel I'm going to use a 200 by 200 size to make it slightly smaller than regular, and then I'm just going to align it here at the center. I'm just going to remove any kind of fill color from it and give it a stroke. Maybe 2-point stroke would be fine, and color does not matter because we are going to color it later on. Anyway, that looks fine. Now using that square, we are now going to create a copy of this one by pressing Ctrl J, and I'm going to reduce the size of this copied square shape to half. So currently it is 200 by 200, so I'm just going to make it 100 by 100, and it is already placed perfectly at this upper left corner. Then I'm going to create another copy of this one by pressing Ctrl J and bring it here at this lower right corner, and as soon as it snaps here we are going to leave it. And by the way, you should have these snapping options checked to make sure that it snaps at these points. Anyway, now that we have these two small copies inside it, we can move on to the next step, and that is to just make this one perfectly black. I have just pressed Shift X to change the stroke color to the fill color, and make sure that you remove any kind of stroke style on this one so that it does not have any weight. It should be 0. So now we have this small square here and this another square here. Now I'm going to use this basic one, the back one, this one in the layers panel. Select that one, press Ctrl J to copy it and rotate it like that. In the transform panel it should be -45 and 45 or 45 degree depending upon whether you rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise. So next I'm going to resize it by pressing the Shift key and dragging the top point and make sure that it meets that top edge, and as soon as it snaps I'm going to leave it, and again I'm going to select this point and resize it down to this one, as and make sure that it touches this lower end. Then I'm going to deselect everything. This is a very important step. You need to deselect everything. Then you need to select that small rotated square that you just created and press Ctrl J to copy it, and then press the Shift key and the Control key and then reduce its size like that. And as soon as it snaps to the half, the midpoint like that, you see it snapping like there, you need to release it. Okay, so now we have this diagonal kind of like a square, this copy, and a small copy, this one. We need to create another copy of this one, so make sure that you deselect everything before you resize or anything. Then select this smaller copy that is in the middle here, press Ctrl J to create a copy of this one again. Now we need to hide this small copy that we just created. We do not need it at this moment, we will need it later on, so I'm just going to hide it at this moment. Then I'm going to select that small square here, diagonal square, and then this one, the larger one here, and make sure that this smaller one here at the top of this larger one, it is very important. So in the layers panel you can see that the smaller one here is at the top and the larger one is just below it. So I'm going to select both of these, and at the top I'm going to use this option subtract. Now if you do not see these kind of options, maybe there is something wrong, so make sure that you select this move tool in the layers and tools panel, and then this option might appear. I think it always appears, but if you do not see it, just make sure that you use this move tool and then you will be able to see this option. Okay, now I'm just going to press this button subtract to get one shape instead of the two, and then I'm just going to press Shift X to turn that stroke color to the fill color and make sure that it does not have any stroke weight, it is 0. Alright, now you see that we have this small square at the lower right corner here at this point. We are going to select that one, and this kind of like a hollow shape that we just created, then select that one. And in the layer panel you see that we have smaller square that at the top, and that hollowed shape, the range type of shape you may call it, at here at the bottom of that one. And then I'm going to press the subtract shape again, actually subtract button. Anyway, now the small square shape that we just hid, we need to bring it back, and then we need to move it at this location right here. So as soon as the center of this shape snaps with this one at the like that, you see this vertical green and the horizontal lines, you need to release it and then press shift X to fill it with the black color, and make sure that you remove any kind of width from it as well. Then I'm going to press Ctrl J, copy it, and then move it here at this location, and it should snap at this corner as well. So once it snaps there, you need to release it. Now our houndstooth pattern is ready, kind of. This is the basic tile of that pattern. Now we need to select all of these filled shapes that we created, just leave the bottom one alone. Select all of these filled shapes and then bring it inside that rectangle like that. Select that rectangle, make sure it does not have any stroke color and stroke width. Now our perfect looking tile is ready. Just we need to just fill it with the rest of the document with this one. So before I do that, I just want to change its or new direction by flipping it horizontally. You do not have to do it, but I'm just doing just to make it look the way the traditional pattern looks. So at the top, I'm just going to flip it horizontally like that, and then in the symbols, I'm going to use this option create. Now we have our symbol ready. The reason I have used this symbol, instead of repeating it alone, because if I want to change the color, I should be easily I should be able to change the colors easily of the whole pattern without going into each and every small tile and then changing colors there. Another thing that I want to point out here is that you see all of these fill shapes that we have as a separate shape. If you want to keep them like that, that's okay, but if you want to join them, I'll show you in the later part of this video why you should join them, and why should you not join them, all the pros and cons of that. Anyway, now that we have our symbol ready, I'm just going to bring it here at the top right corner, top left corner, and as soon as it snaps, I'm just going to leave it there. Then I'm going to press Ctrl J, copy it, and move it horizontally like that. Once it snaps, I'm just going to leave it. And by the way, if it does not snap, you need to go into the transform panel and put 200 in the x-axis. So I'm just going to add plus 200 in the x-axis, and it's placed at the perfect location. Now without deselecting everything or deselecting anything, I'm just going to press Ctrl J again, create another copy until it reaches the other side of my document. So once it reaches the other side of the document, I'm going to select all of these symbols and then press Ctrl J to copy it. Now I need to bring them 200 points downwards. So simply in the y-axis, I'm going to add 200 and press enter to move them at this perfect location. Now without deselecting anything, I'm going to press Ctrl J a couple of times so that we fill the rest of the document with this one. Now guys, our pattern is ready, but it is not perfect. And let me show you why it is not perfect. If I just go to file and export, and maybe export a PNG image, and then try to test that pattern by going file, creating a new document. It does not matter what size it is, just create a shape. It does not matter what shape, and use that fill tool and select that bitmap in this option from the type, and select that PNG image that we just created. And then if we just try to scale it down a bit, even if we do not scale it down, let me just place it here, and if I just zoom in a bit here, you see we have these imperfections in the pattern, these white lines. These are very thin lines. I have zoomed in actually 2600%. So these still lines are present here. They will always be present there. So this means that the pattern is not perfect. So it might give you some problem when you are printing on something. Anyway, so we need to remove these lines, and in order to remove these lines we need to go back to the pattern. Make sure that you have selected all of these symbols. Just select all of these one, whether they are in the layers panel or you just hover over and select all of these like that, and then simply press Ctrl G, not J, Ctrl G, like that, G for ground. So after that we have just created a group of all of these symbols. Now I'm going to create a couple of copies of that group. You can create up to 5 copies, so I'm just going to create up to 5 copies. So like press Ctrl J, 1 copy, press Ctrl J again, second copy, third copy, and fourth copy. Now we have 5 copies of that group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me just zoom in so you do not see those lines. Let me just export a PNG image again. So file, export, and PNG image. Let me just name it slightly. Let me name it pattern 2. Now once again I'm going to test that using that fill tool. Select that bitmap and let's just select this pattern 2. And now if I just zoom in, you see we do not see those line areas here. Actually, you might be able to see this grayish line here again, so which means that we just need to create another copy of that group. So create another copy of that group and then export in. Let's just name it pattern 3. Go back to that test document, select that new one, this pattern 3, and open it, and now see if we get those lines or not. And we are not seeing those lines, so you have to test it yourself how much copy you might have to create. Maybe 6, 7, 8. I think 10 would be just fine. You do not have to go beyond that. So depending upon you whether you're seeing the lines in your pattern or not, you just need to create copies of that group, and you will get perfect looking pattern. Now let me show you some of the interesting things that you can do with this pattern and the way that I have created. So I'm just going to go into any of these groups, select any of these symbol. Let me just select this symbol here, and I can just select all these fill shapes, and I can just simply recolor it to something different. So easily I can just create a slightly different colored pattern. I can even color that white area by selecting this rectangle shape. So by selecting that square shape or rectangle shape, we can give it a color slightly different than the white one, and I can get a different look to my pattern like that. Another interesting thing that I would like to show here is so if you do not want to keep these separate shapes as separate, the reason I have kept it as separate, maybe you want to color different parts differently, but if you select all of these shapes, all of these fill shapes inside that one symbol, and at the top I'm just going to press add, and so that all of these shapes are just now one shape instead of multiple shapes, and that will be easy for you to just change the color much easily and manage these patterns a little bit more easily. And it reduces this, you can say that, a burden on your computer system as well. So that works well. Another thing, interesting thing, if you do not want to give this rectangle this second color, I would recommend that do not give it any color, because that might be slightly problematic. So instead of giving a fill color to this one, what I would recommend is that create a square shape that is going beyond the boundaries of your document, and then bring it behind everything, just below everything, and then give it a color, any color that you want, like that. So it will be much easier for you to control it, and also it will reduce some of the burden from your computer system on your CPU as well. So that it also works fine. So this is how I would use, just give it a background color in one single instead of each and every small square shape. So that's how I would manage that. Another interesting thing that you can do is to create slightly different color to it. So if I just maybe create something like that, give it fill color like that, maybe place it here at this location, place it here at this location, and if I just bring that small shape inside that shapes that I just created and give this one slightly different one, give it a slightly different color, I can create a pattern like that as well. So there are a lot of different possibilities that you can of course try and see how that this pattern works for you. Now for the inspiration, I would recommend you to just search online some of the pattern images, like just type houndstooth pattern, search the images in the search engine and try to see what are different design that you can try, just try to get inspiration. For example, this is an interesting design. It has used multiple copies of this that shape and gave it a different color, and that's an interesting pattern. Another interesting color scheme is this one. Maybe another, let's see another one if we can find here. So all of these things, inspirations that you can get from here, you can just try and see how kind of different designs that you can create, how kind of how kind of changes you can make in the pattern to make it look cool, to make it slightly a little bit unique than the just traditional style or the traditional design. And in order, if you want to color it into different each and every symbol different, I would recommend that do not create that symbol, and instead of creating them these symbols, just leave that step, and just use that rectangle, and you will be able to create color of each and every individual shape, and you can create a much more versatile, much more diverse or unique pattern if you do not control and create that symbol. I just created this symbol just so that I can easily change the colors of the whole pattern in a much more easily than changing the colors in a regular way. There are also different ways you can use these patterns. You can use these patterns as a fill object or a fill kind of like a pattern for different shapes that you can use those shapes to create different patterns. And also you can use these houndstooth patterns as you can say that also as a background fill or a background pattern, kind of like a subtle pattern as a background for your main patterns as well. So guys, hopefully you have found this video and this tutorial to be useful. If so, make sure that you like the video and let me know in the comments below what do you think about this pattern, and if you face any kind of issue with this pattern, just ask me in the comments below and I'll try my best to help you. And hopefully guys, I'll see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.